Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, the Technology Marathon, Optimizing Your Nonprofit Fundraising for the Long Run. We are so excited to have all of you on our call today as we're digging into this very important, very relevant topic today. Very excited to be presenting alongside our partners, Evolve Giving Group. So it'll be a tremendous conversation, lots of content, and very excited to kick things off as everyone's slowly rolling in. A couple of housekeeping items before we dig into the meat of our presentation. If you have any questions throughout the webinar, put those into the questions panel of your GoToWebinar control panel. Jamie Klobuchar with Evolve Giving Group will pop in occasionally. She might address some of those questions throughout the course of our presentation. If not, we will save some of those for the end as well. If you'd like to chat with any of our attendees, if you have any questions, technical questions or housekeeping questions, you can place those into the chat and our team will address those as they come through. We also will be sending out the recording, so you will have access to that after the webinar. So with that, I want to go ahead and introduce our presenters for today. First, myself, my name is Kelly Perry. I'm a Senior Digital Marketing Manager with StratusLIVE. I've been with StratusLIVE about 4 years now and very excited to have this conversation with all of you about how to better leverage your technology systems to help you optimize your fundraising, engage your donors more effectively, and just do a tremendous job at doing your fundraising even better. Debbie, if you'd want to introduce yourself.
Thank you, Kelly. I'm Debbie Snyder. I'm the Group VP of Marketing at StratusLIVE, and I want to echo Kelly's comments. We are super excited about this conversation. We've been working on this topic with Evolve for a few months and think we have some really good thoughts to share and look forward to your involvement as well. So thank you for joining us today. Renee?
Hi, everyone. My name is Renee Davis. I am a consultant with Evolve Giving Group. I've been consulting to nonprofit organizations for about 3 years now. Prior to that, I have about 15 years of frontline fundraising experience, and we're really excited to be diving into this conversation with all of you today.
Awesome. So our agenda for today, first, we'll talk a little bit more about StratusLIVE, just so you have a better indication about who we are as an organization. Then Renee will talk a little bit more about Evolve Giving Group, and then dig into 2023 philanthropy trends, how those might influence your current fundraising strategies, how that might influence even the nonprofit technology that you're considering to implement. We'll talk more about what comes first. Do you implement a strategy or do you pursue online giving systems, CRM technology? Then what are those key components of a fundraising strategy? The next half of the presentation will dig a bit more into digital maturity, how to define your digital maturity. Where does your organization land on this spectrum on your digital transformation journey? We'll talk more about how to choose your nonprofit technology and then end with a conversation on how to leverage that technology to scale and support your overall fundraising goals. And at the end, a quick conclusion and then address any final questions that we might have. So with that, I'll pass things over to Debbie.
Thank you, Kelly. Well, the first thing I just wanted to talk about briefly, for those of you that are not familiar with StratusLIVE, is who are we and what do we do? Well, StratusLIVE empowers organizations to drive change and increase impact. We are a purpose-built product built exclusively for nonprofit organizations to empower their fundraising efforts. We currently manage over 20 million donor profiles and support over 1 billion in annualized giving per year. Renee, tell us a little bit about Evolve Giving Group, please.
Sure. So Evolve Giving Group is a full-service nonprofit management consulting firm focused in 3 core areas: fundraising, talent and executive search, and training. We are proudly women-owned and women-led. We were founded in 2020 by a team who had worked together for more than a decade as consultants and even longer prior to that as nonprofit professionals. We are mission-driven. Our work is really grounded in the values of service, empathy, authenticity, justice, and a commitment to lifelong learning. And we offer both strategic and tactical expertise. We've all worked in nonprofits and we know how challenging it can be. Every single one of our team members has been in your shoes, so to speak, before. So let's ground ourselves in 2023. The Giving USA data is out. I'm sure you have all heard about it and read about it. And we're all experiencing a lot of this personally through lower retention numbers, fewer donor upgrades, and maybe even lower acquisition numbers as well. So we know that giving is down for the first time in decades. It is important to note that this does follow record high giving numbers in 2020 and 2021. But it is down. Individuals still make up the largest donor segment at 64%. And statistics show us that individuals are they're both inspired to give through digital channels and then are making their gifts through online channels as well. So, what this is telling us is that a technology strategy and an integrated technology strategy within your fundraising strategy is what you need to survive. Not only to survive, but to thrive and continue to grow. So we're going to talk a little bit about what comes first, the strategy or the technology. So maybe we'll just go to the next slide quickly and talk through what are the key components of a fundraising strategy. So we know you have to first establish your clear goals and objectives, defining those specific and measurable fundraising goals that are going to define what you aim to achieve. You also need to define your target audiences. Who are your donor segments? What are the demographics, their giving capacities and motivations, so that you can appropriately tailor your messaging and engagement strategies effectively. Define what those tactics and channels are going to be. What are you going to do to reach out to your donor base? Is it direct mail? Is it online fundraising? Who are your donors and how can you best reach them? What's going to be the mix of donor acquisition and retention strategies? Online strategies to acquire new donors are going to be different than retaining new donors. And what is the mix that's required for you to reach your goals that you've set? How are you thinking about donor cultivation and engagement? Do you think stewardship needs to be a big part of your plan this year to increase donor retention? And what does that look like in terms of personalized communications, segmentations, and tailored giving opportunities? And then thinking through the nuts and bolts of it. How are you planning resource and budget planning and assessing the resources that are required to implement your strategy effectively? This includes the budget needed for staff, technology, marketing, events, donor recognition, and all of your fundraising activities as a whole. And really understanding how to allocate your resources based on those priorities and what the ROI might, is going to be. And then mapping out your timeline, your action plan. This is crucial to having an effective fundraising strategy and will ensure that your efforts are well coordinated and that you're meeting key milestones along the way. And then constantly measuring and evaluating the success of your fundraising efforts, identifying and tracking what your key performance indicators are, and regularly evaluating your progress toward those. And technology and the ability to analyze that data is going to need to be supported by your technology strategy. And it needs to integrate with your overall organizational strategy and align with your broader strategic goals. And that may include coordinating with other departments or other teams to integrate your fundraising efforts with programmatic initiatives, your marketing, or advocacy activities. And then continuous improvement and adaptation. Your fundraising strategies need to be dynamic and responsive, and you need to continuously be evaluating the effectiveness of your efforts so that you can constantly stay ahead of the curve. So, considering these components and then tailoring them to your needs, this is why it is so important to set your fundraising strategy before you select the technology. A comprehensive fundraising strategy that sets clear goals, engages your donors effectively, and drives sustainable financial support, you need to define that first and then select what technology can best support your efforts. So the technology has to align with those goals. And if you don't have a clear understanding of what they are, then you won't be able to select the technology that will enable you to implement the necessary tactics effectively. We talked a little bit about audience and communication. as a part of your fundraising strategy, and really identifying your target audience and their preferred communication channels. Knowing this information is going to help you select technology to align with their preferences and reach them more effectively. Feature requirements, identifying the specific features and functionalities that you require from your technology is really important. For example, if you have peer-to-peer fundraising as a core part of your fundraising, you need to select platforms that support that feature. If you have a strong Instagram following and you're going to need to integrate social media into your technology, then that's going to be something entirely different. Integration and efficiency with other systems as well is really important to understand how you can smoothly integrate into the operations of your business, whether it's finance or marketing or existing tools that you're already using that you want to retain. It's really important to understand how that's going to affect your strategy. And then, of course, budget and resource considerations and understanding what those financial targets are. What can you reasonably implement with the team that you have and with the staff, that the resources that you currently have, that can select a solution that best fits within those constraints. And so technology really plays a vital role in helping to execute your strategy, but really it should be seen as a means to support your overarching goals and tactics. So defining the strategy first is what's going to help you select what's most appropriate for your specific needs and objectives. So if we think about it from a running shoe analogy. So imagine you're getting ready for a really long race or just a long run, and you want to make sure that you have the appropriate equipment to support you, and you need new running shoes. So before you rush to the store and pick any pair of shoes that are cool or you love the color or they're popular, the first things you need to consider are your running style, your specific needs, and potentially the anatomy of your foot. And so in fundraising, selecting the right technology is really similar to selecting the right running shoe. Everyone is going to have different running styles, different running gait, different preferences. The race might be different, distance. And so every fundraising campaign has its own unique goals, target audiences, and requirements that will require different technology to support it. So ultimately, the goal is to find the technology that suits your specific needs, enhances your fundraising efforts, just like the right running shoe will provide the comfort, the support, and improve your running performance. So analyzing your fundraising strategy before selecting the technology, just like you would consider your running style and needs before selecting a shoe.
Thanks, Renee. I find that analogy so helpful. In this part of the presentation, we wanted to talk more about digital maturity and what that actually means. So you've decided upon your fundraising strategy, you've put all the various pieces together, you're considering new technologies or perhaps how to enhance your current fundraising strategies. So what does digital maturity mean, and how can you rank your organization and think more strategically about how to apply your digital strategies? So the way in which we define digital maturity is the degree to which a nonprofit has integrated digital technologies and strategies into your operations, into your programs, and into your culture, which is evident from Renee's part of the presentation, and that it has to be the combination of both the technology itself and the strategy. And I also think it's important here to realize how a digital system and digital technologies, you might think of only leveraging in one department, like fundraising, for example, or operations or advocacy efforts, but it's across your entire organization. It can be across operations, programs, and culture. And ultimately, achieving digital maturity is going to allow you to leverage your data, engage with your stakeholders, and ultimately achieve your mission through digital means. So what are some of the capabilities of a digitally mature organization? What are they able to do through leveraging technologies appropriately? They can optimize their decision making. They can expand their reach. So beyond looking into their own donor data and cultivating those donors, they're looking beyond their networks reaching out to new donor networks, reaching out to new supporters, and considering how to incorporate those individuals and those constituents within their organization. They can personalize communications. So leveraging your own digital channels and the data that you have access to regarding a donor's previous giving history, affinities, interests, anything related to past giving history. You might be pulling in data from external sources as well that might be focusing on wealth scoring or interests or even social listening to understand the various interests that they might have. All of that information can be capitalized and can be leveraged to personalize your communications to your donors and your constituents so that they can have a better experience when they're engaging with your organization. Another strong capability of a digitally mature organization, it allows you to forecast your fundraising income. Not only are you leveraging past giving history, you can also perhaps leverage predictive analytics to help you think into the future on what you can expect as bringing in new fundraising revenue into your organization. And then finally, enhancing operations. I think this is one key focus that many nonprofit organizations look to when they are exploring new systems, is how can they streamline their operations, how can they automate some internal processes, how can they better leverage technology so that they can serve their mission more sustainably. And ultimately, digitally mature organizations, you're unlocking new opportunities, you're driving innovation, and you're ultimately creating a more positive impact. So beyond the capabilities, we can talk more about what an outcome of a digitally mature organization is hoping to achieve by pursuing digital technology and implementing it successfully. And first, better fundraising outcomes. If we think back to the pandemic, those organizations that pivoted quickly to digital means, to virtual fundraising, to trying new ways to engage their donors online, those organizations survived and many of them thrived and completely adjusted the way that they were engaging with their donors. So that is a key outcome that you can potentially achieve by focusing on embracing new digital technology. Another important aspect as well is exceeding your mission goals. The Nonprofit Trend Report talks about digitally mature organizations are 4 times more likely to exceed their mission goals. So not only are you generating more fundraising revenue by pursuing new technology, by implementing it effectively, you will have an impact on the communities that you are attempting to serve. You're also going to improve your stakeholder relations. So that Nonprofit Trends Report talks about this as well, that organizations that implement technology have the strongest relationships and they have the highest rates of goal achievement. And that doesn't depend upon how many team members you have, your fundraising revenue, or even your location of your organization. The fact that you're leveraging digital tools to manage all the various relationships will help you have strong relationships with those organizations and individuals. Improving organizational efficiencies. This will allow you to eliminate any multiple systems that you might be leveraging, help you streamline processes internally and automate some work that your staff members may be doing to free up time for them to focus on more important aspects of their role, perhaps. Digitally mature organizations are 2 times more likely to experience these organizational efficiency improvements. And the last point here about improving employee satisfaction. Digitally mature organizations state that they have more motivated and engaged employees. They have a more positive culture, they have decreased burnout. So I think that's another great outcome of becoming digitally mature, is that your staff members are going to feel more empowered. They have access to the data that they need. They can deliver their roles more effectively, more efficiently, and they have a better insight into the impact of their work. So across the board, deploying new technologies and thinking strategically about how you're applying technology will only benefit your organization. So considering these outcomes, we're going to pivot now to talk more about the digital maturity scale. So think on your end where your organization might fall on this scale. So Amazon Web Services released a report in March called Powering Purpose in the Cloud. And they surveyed nonprofits, and they said about 3/4 of respondents to the survey have been able to integrate digital transformation into their processes. And a quarter struggle to do so at all. 21% of respondents, they just talk about digital transformation. They don't actually implement anything. And 4% rarely talk about it at all. So the fact that you're on this webinar right now, you're clearly committed to digital transformation. And it's clear that many organizations differ regarding the rate that they're implementing these digital strategies within their various approaches. So we can start on the left-hand side, thinking more strategically about digital rookies and what that might look like. So digital rookies, you might be limited in your experience in leveraging new technologies. You're at the early stage of embracing digital and forming the strategy. You might have disparate systems, maybe you're using a legacy CRM system, just basic data management. You have an online donation platform, perhaps you have a website that's collecting donations that way, but it's very basic systems. Digital adopters, those in that center section there, you're moving beyond this initial stage of digital transformation. You're starting to adopt digital technology to a more significant extent, and you're starting to think more strategically about how can you enhance relationships with your donors and with your various stakeholders. So at this point, you might have a cloud-based CRM. You're thinking more strategically about how to leverage the data that you have. Maybe you're using email marketing tools with automation and segmentation. You're sending out an automated email series to new donors and collecting all of that data. You're using various online fundraising tools. Perhaps you're doing a peer-to-peer campaign, team-based fundraising, volunteerism, but you still might have these disparate tools, disparate point solutions, and not a holistic view of your entire donor. And then that last piece here is those digital innovators. So these organizations, they're embracing forward-thinking strategies, the emerging technology. You're at the forefront of digital transformation. You're strategically using your data. You're thinking about how to scale, how to become more efficient, how to better leverage your technology for impact. And you might be using tools like data lakes that is helping you store all of your raw data for you to be able to analyze it better. You might be using machine learning or AI or advanced analytics. Those organizations are really at the forefront and embracing technology and considering how they can implement it within their current processes and procedures. So with that, we will open it up to a poll to our audience to hear from you all where you feel as if you fall on this spectrum. Is your organization at the very beginning of this journey? You're thinking through technology, you're trying to leverage your current tools. Are you more in that second phase there where you're starting to think more strategically about how to apply the technology? Or are you just at the way end of the spectrum there, just leveraging new tools, artificial intelligence and the like? So I can see the results on my end. And I'll go ahead and close a poll, share those. Looks like the majority of us are just starting out on that journey, which is great. So we're happy to be having this conversation with you all and ensuring that you have the information that you need to get started here. So what are some of these roadblocks to digital transformation? And these are some topics that we discuss with some of our clients, is that occasionally there are some challenges that may prevent you from thinking more strategically about how to apply technology. And that first piece might be a lack of budget or securing the right resources. It could also be a people or a culture issue, just making sure internally that you can communicate the importance of this to the rest of your team. Or perhaps it might be lack of internal IT resources. We see this occasionally as well on our side, in that even working with large enterprise organizations, you need to ensure that you have a staff that can help you manage and maintain and support the systems that you select. And then finally, there's always the idea of competing priorities within an organization. You're having to juggle so many different tasks. So how do you do that alongside managing and implementing a new system? So there's certainly a lot to consider. If Renee or Debbie had any comments on on this slide would be open to hearing that as well.
Well, I think, Kelly, that's a great segue into what I'm going to be talking about next, which is tips for choosing a nonprofit technology, because some of the things that are roadblocks, lack of budget, lack of IT resources, can be overcome with the choice of the right partner. So anybody else have anything they want to add into that comment? All right, well, I'll move on then, since I did kind of do a segue, move into tips for choosing nonprofit technology. And so the first thing I think is important as you're choosing a technology solution is that you need to weigh the benefits of a fully integrated solution versus a point solution. What we find with a lot of our clients is they end up with a real sort of technology mess, if you will, by choosing point solutions. By point solutions, I mean you might have one solution that manages your volunteer programs, you might have another solution that manages your events, another solution that is your online giving pages. And we frequently see clients with 9 to 12 different point solutions that they are using to try to manage their donors and fundraise effectively. And what I think is worth bearing is you got to really look at the cost of that versus finding a purpose-built solution, a fully integrated solution that allows your organization to realize the full benefit of your technology investment. And that goes into the budget question. Sometimes if you don't look at the factors correctly, you see, oh, my volunteer solution is only this amount and my events solution is this amount, and you don't bother to add up what the total cost is versus an end-to-end donor acquisition and management tool. Because if you do, now obviously I'm giving away where we're at on this. StratusLIVE builds a fully functional, purpose-built solution, a platform solution, a nonprofit cloud solution that allows you to capture every donor touch point, activity, donation, volunteer registration, and more with one solution. And we feel that that's really important because then if one solution is capturing all this data, the data can then be manipulated and analyzed via dashboards and data visualization for holistic decision making. And we think that is super important and ought to be considered when you're making a technology decision, because having an all-in-one product does give you some pretty specific benefits. First of all, obviously it eliminates data silos. This makes it easier on your staff so that they no longer have multiple data entry, data import or export tasks that they have to do, which is a common hassle with individual solutions. Having a purpose-built integrated solution also ensures data integrity. You have no multiple data entry situations, and that ensures that your data is more accurate. Additionally, an integrated solution instills a sense of confidence in your staff so that they feel like the data is solid. They can make informed decisions based on the data that you collect. No more questioning, why does it say this here and this over here and this over here? What do I believe? And how do I make decisions on data that I do not trust? Having an integrated solution, technology solution, also creates a holistic donor picture. Again, with one tool, you have insight into all the details about your donor. And then there's also, people don't think about a lot of times, the benefits for the donor. It streamlines the engagement experience. Your donors have one login and one look and feel when engaging with your nonprofit. Because from the donor perspective, it's very confusing to have your volunteer system look one way, your event system look one way, your giving system look another way, not to mention all of the IDs and passwords typically required with that solution. So by doing that, it increases your gift effectiveness. With one integrated tool, your entire staff can visualize the path of a single gift. Think about that. We get a lot of aha moments when we talk about that. The program staff can determine program budgets based on the revenue targets set up by the fundraising staff. So this data allows your teams to effectively apply your donors' gifts to the most urgent needs or campaigns that they desire to support. And last but certainly not least, having an integrated solution secures trust. It provides visibility into gift impact and helps your organization gain trust with your donors in a world where transparency is very important. So a second tip, consider the total cost of ownership. And I touched on that a little bit, but when looking at your technology decisions, I think it's very important to consider the total cost of ownership to ensure a positive return on your investment. So when purchasing a technology platform, most nonprofits identify the cost of the system itself. We have to pay X amount for this subscription, but they fail to consider the training costs, support costs, and other reoccurring costs. If these elements are ignored, your user adoption may suffer, or the platform may crumble due to lack of maintenance. So it's important to identify the total cost of ownership, and to do that, your organization needs to accurately compare all software vendors and make sure you're comparing apples to apples. You'll create a much more realistic budget for the entirety of the project, from selection, implementation, and ongoing support. Ultimately, you will help ensure a successful technology initiative. So where we see clients sometimes get tripped up is they see a product that has maybe a very appealing subscription price, but what they fail to recognize is that does not include implementation costs, or it does not include training costs, or it does not include ongoing maintenance. So it's just important to really look, take a deep look at all of these elements when making a decision to make sure you're getting the best bang for your buck. Third, evaluate the security. We know in this day and age, security and data privacy are definitely a big factor in implementing nonprofit technology. Legacy systems or homegrown systems often have poor security protocols, outdated proprietary systems, and they're also subject to threats from internet-borne worms and viruses. It's critical to ensure that your third-party SaaS vendors have proper built-in cloud security systems and protections in place. So for example, the StratusLIVE product is built on Microsoft Dynamics. So we are able to take advantage of all of the Microsoft cloud security protocols that inform our product. It's important to understand the security of your system. Fourth, you need to determine the support you need beyond implementation. Just as Renee mentioned earlier, our nonprofit technology selection process is more than just evaluating features and functions. Consider if the technology vendor you select will implement your software, or whether you have to hire a third party to do so, which may create risks in the successful implementation. Carefully consider your support options, including access to documentation, training, ticketing systems, and the option to join user groups. And finally, I don't think I can overemphasize that change management is key. The implementation of a new system will move people away from the status quo and the programs and products and tools they've been using, and put them outside their comfort zone. Don't underestimate this. Some may resist this change and cast doubt in private forums outside of management's visibility. These hidden agendas may really challenge the project and result in time and budget overruns. That's why organizational change strategies are needed to offset the natural resistance to change and sustain the benefits of a new business strategy, to enable the technologies and enable you to have a successful business transformation. Consider if your vendor includes change management throughout the implementation process, so that your implementation will be a success. You need to bring the team along with you. Some people on the team that have been using a product for a long time may have trouble seeing the vision of the new technology platform. Be sure you incorporate change management procedures to help everybody get to a successful end result. So Renee, you want to talk to us a bit now about how we scale and adapt?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Debbie. So technology can help us on all three of these dimensions as we're acquiring new donors, reaching new audiences, engaging donors, and keeping them in the fold and retaining them. So, thinking about how technology can help you reach new audiences and convert them to new donors. There are ways to automate things like that, and when someone visits your website and there's an immediate pop-up, so they add to your newsletter, and then what happens after that? These are crucial ways to acquire new donors and then ensure that you're seeing those conversions happen. Donor engagement technology really can help you better engage your donors and better share the impact of their support. So this is a key opportunity, I would say, for most of my clients that I work with. I would say they are very typically, as we saw in the poll, like from either a rookie or an adapter, maybe more closer on the side of rookie, not yet optimizing the way that they're using digital tools, email, and social media to engage with donors once they've made their gift. But this is key. Are things like setting up a welcome series, that's automated, that goes out right when a donor makes a new gift. That new donor receives, a prescribed communications that make them feel properly thanked, stewarded, and that they really understand the impact of their support. And then donor retention. I would say here segmentation is so crucial, and technology is really the only way to do this efficiently right now, especially if you have a large number of donors that you are meaningfully trying to retain and upgrade each year. And so it's crucial to personalize messages and ensure that your content, the content you're sharing, is relevant to that specific donor and differentiated appropriately, and that you honor their communication preferences. And so, these are baseline ways that I think technology can help you scale and adapt your fundraising strategies to take it to the next level. But how do we really level up our fundraising using technology? So I think this involves, leveraging various tools and techniques that will enhance your efforts. These are only some examples of what you might do or how you might use technology to elevate your fundraising strategy. So, if you want to upgrade donors and you don't want to spend hours in an Excel spreadsheet, putting in formulas to understand what you might ask them for, that's going to, go in your email and be sort of like go into that merge. You can use your technology to personalize those donation requests based on their donor behavior and their giving history. So a donor who has been giving to you for 10 years at a certain level might have a different giving amount, suggested giving amount that's tailored to those previous contributions or average gift size. And technology can help you do that in an automated way using ask strings. Another is just how can we work smarter? What can we automate? What kind of implementation and automation tools can we streamline and use to optimize our fundraising processes? So I mentioned a welcome series, but how else might you use marketing automation to schedule and send personalized email campaigns to specific segmented donor lists? This can also, be applied to online donation acknowledgements, event registration confirmations and reminders, recurring donation reminders, but this all saves you time and ensures consistent, regular communication. Engagement scoring. How do we utilize engagement scoring? I really like this because this tracks and measures donor interactions with your organizations. It's highly personalized and it assigns scores and points based on the actions, such as opening emails, attending events, interacting with your website or social media. And this helps you identify who are your highly engaged donors and prospects. And then you can tailor your communications and stewardship efforts accordingly and focus on those who are most likely to contribute and engage further. Intelligent data analysis, this helps you gain insights into donor behavior and leverage those analytics to gain insight into more of their behavior, preferences, and trends. You can analyze donation patterns, demographic data, and campaign results to identify opportunities that can improve your targeted research. And targeted outreach. For example, you may identify segments of donors who haven't contributed recently and then create a personalized campaign to re-engage them based on their previous giving history. And creating a donor's own space. This makes them feel like they have the ability to have a personalized online donor experience that they can then understand exactly how they're interacting with your organization. Utilizing technology to do this really elevates the experience for donors and then creates dynamic content, whether it's on the website or donation forms that adjusts based on their past interactions or preferences. This can also include displaying impact stories related to their previous giving or interests and suggesting specific campaigns or appeals based on their past engagement. And then leverage their support to help you reach new audiences. So peer-to-peer platforms are a great way to do this and facilitate outreach beyond the audiences that you are currently reaching. And these platforms will allow supporters to create their own fundraising pages, set goals, and reach out to their networks for donations. We've all been in this situation where we're helping volunteers be an ambassador on our behalf, and technology really enables easy sharing, helping them track their progress, and takes the onus off of your fundraising staff and makes it just such much less manual process, automates that donation processing, and ultimately expands your reach and impact. These are just a few ways that enhance personalization, efficiency, and ultimately increase donor engagement. But remember, we have to select the tools that are going to work best. with your goals and your strategy, going back to that strategy, so that you can make sure that you're reaching people in the right ways that are most effective and make the most sense for you.
All right, well, the next thing I wanted to talk about was how to use donors' data to support fundraising goals, because I think, we've talked a lot about the data and how to get better technology, but how do you actually use that to meet your goal, which is to increase your fundraising? So first of all, I think one thing to be considered is advanced CRM data segmentation. So all of your donor data can be used to segment your donors. I know that many of you are already segmenting based on name, address, and RFM, but how can you include other data points, and which channels can you leverage these segmented lists to nurture and convert donors? So consider your donor personas. Who are these individuals? Where do they hang out, both in the online and offline communities? How does this understanding influence the channels in which you market to them? Then consider your internal and external data sets to build a perfect list. Internal data might include preferred communication methods. It might include event attendance. It might include their age bracket, their volunteer giving history, their giving type, the channel which they give. Do they give online? Do they give via check? Do they give via cash? Their engagement scores and their interest data. What programs and cause areas have they indicated? External data might include giving capacity, wealth data, address verification, social listening, or AI-driven technologies. And then you can use this data to create segments that can then be used as a marketing list, to send your next fundraising appeal, to request volunteers or advocates, to use for prospect or major gift, or use as prospects for major gift opportunities. So by using advanced CRM data, you can put this data to work for you. Another way to use data to support your fundraising goals is through developing nurture campaigns. So nurture campaigns allow your organization to communicate with your audience based on their past interactions, delivering a personalized one-to-one experience on a mass scale. So email, text, phone calls, social media, these are all possible channels to leverage within your nurture campaigns. And then finally, leverage predictive and insightful analytics and visualizations. The all-digital world enables nonprofit marketers the ability to measure and track virtually everything. Your donor's digital journey can provide footprints of their engagement with your organization. Through the evaluation of your donors' past interactions, you can make assumptions about their behavior in the future. It's also paramount to track the ROI of your fundraising and marketing campaigns to determine their effectiveness. Through data visualization tools, fundraisers can evaluate campaign activity groups and average response amounts. For example, your team could compare emails sent and the average response amount. What was your message and audience? How did these factors influence the average response? Beyond the campaign level, fundraisers can use real-time predictive analytics to model projected revenues, response rates, average gifts amounts, costs, net revenue, ROI, CTA, and other metrics. Nonprofit organizations that embrace digital and make fundraising and marketing decisions based upon data, not gut, will position themselves well for future success. So Renee, let's talk about some key takeaways from our time together today.
Absolutely. So a reminder, use your strategy and your key objectives as a guiding framework. The strategy has to be set first with a clear understanding of what your goals are, what are going to be your key performance indicators that are going to tell you you're successful this year, and then how can your technology support it. And then ensure you're reaching the intended audiences through the right channels. You understand exactly who you're trying to target and what you want to say to them, and that you're using the right communication tools to do it, and have leveraging technology to do so. And then these are the things that our team at Evolve helps our clients with every day, is setting that strategy and then designing the tactics and the tools to do that. And then I think StratusLIVE's team really comes in and helps consider more around like the team impacts and the resource allocation and how you actually implement that on these last 2 bullet points. Debbie, I don't know if you have anything more you want to say on these takeaways.
Sure. Well, we do. I think that was a good summary, Renee. And what we do at StratusLIVE with our technology platform is really consider the team impacts, the resource allocation, and then we do all of our own implementations. We don't outsource our implementations. So with StratusLIVE, if you purchase our technology solution, either our CRM product or our digital engagement product or both, we then will pilot, test, evaluate, iterate, and make sure that you have a successful implementation. I would be remiss if I didn't mention that we're very proud of the fact that we have yet to have a failed implementation with a client. So once we start down the path of implementing a technology solution, so far, and we protect this, we're determined to keep it this way, we have a 100% success rate in terms of implementing our clients on our product. So Kelly, do we have any questions or anything further to wrap up?
I'm taking a look here to see if we have had anything come through, so feel free to send in any questions that you might have into the chat or the questions panel. Our email addresses are also on the screen now, so if you want to get in touch with Renee or anyone else on the Evolve team, please feel free to reach out to them and follow up with them if you want any additional information. Let's see, will you send out a recording slides? Yes, absolutely. You will certainly have those in your inbox. And Evolve also has provided a donor segmentation worksheet. Renee, if you wanted to comment on that, what this resource looks like.
Sure. This is a simple worksheet as you are considering if you have a specific appeal and you're going to segment out that appeal and send it to different groups. This is a worksheet that might help you think through who those segments are, what are the core messages that you're going to send out to them, and through what channels.
Awesome. And that'll be linked within the email as well. I don't see any other questions coming through, so feel free to just send those through now as we kind of wrap everything up. But we are just so grateful that you all spent this 15 minutes with us today. We love working with Evolve. We've had a tremendous time building this content and just grateful for the time that we've spent on this conversation and looking forward to following up with you all so you have a link to the recording so that you can continue to dig into this conversation. I think it's just critical for us all to think strategically about applying the technology, not biting off more that we can chew, and thinking about that fundraising strategy at the very beginning. So with that, I will go ahead and close things off. And thanks again to Renee and to Debbie and to all of you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.